Inside your spotlight this morning, we do get ready for the rainy season, and I want to welcome Regional Coordinator at the Preparedness and Response Unit of the ODPM, Mr. Mackie, who joins us on set to give us some tips as we get into the rainy season. Good morning, Mr. Mackie.
Good morning, and good morning to the viewers.
How are you doing this morning?
I'm pretty good.
All right, so we're getting ready for the rainy season. Can we say that we're actually there yet, or are we still transitioning?
It's still transitioning. This whole weather system that we're under right now is a little bit of an anomaly. It's a little bit more intense than we would normally have at this time, but changing weather patterns and all of this sort of stuff, you know. So we're getting some early rainfall.
All right, so
that's going to prompt the Met Office very soon to announce the official start of the rainy season.
Right. So then, as we have, we can say we have a little bit of a window here. We had some dry times, but how do we best be prepared as we get into the rainy season? Why is it important for us to be prepared to get into the rainy season?
Well, for one thing, you don't want to be outside in the middle of a rainstorm trying to fix things that should have been fixed in the dry season, right? So the dry season is really the time when you should be looking after your property and so on, make sure it's clean and secure, because it's not just the flooding. The flooding is one thing, but if we have a tropical storm or even a hurricane, loose galvanized in your yard, lengths of lumber, anything that can be picked up by the wind and become projectiles, and they will go through walls and windows and so on into homes, causing significant damage. So it's very important that your surroundings are clean for the rainy season.
And not just clean, but tucked away.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because you don't want things to be loose and flying around.
Yeah.
All right, so give us some basic tips then that we can use to protect our homes, cars, families, all the things that we love.
Okay, so basically you want to, if you live in a flood-prone area, right, you need to make sure that you have some sandbags, right? You can either have the regular sandbags that you fill with sand, or you can have what they call soaker bags, which is it's a flat bag, but it has a chemical in it that expands in a big way. It becomes a sandbag. It fills with water, it becomes very heavy, and it becomes a good deterrent for water getting in your home.
Is there a concern, like I always see that when we've had the kind of dry season that we just had, that it takes a while for it's almost like the soil gets too hard to be able to absorb the water, and we end up with some flash flooding. Is that something we can expect, or this rain that we're seeing now would soften up the soil a bit?
I think that the rain that we're seeing now is having an effect on softening the soil somewhat. Right, but we don't want too much, because then when the rain really starts to fall, the ground is already saturated. And then it's just running off. It's not sinking in.
Yeah,
you know. So.
All right. And are there any specific things that we should take into consideration? For example, if you have persons at home who might be disabled.
Right. Now, all the disaster management units of the municipal corporations, who are the first responders in these events, right? They have lists of all the disabled persons in the community, including the medicines they may require and all of this sort of stuff. So they know where everybody is, so they can get to them as necessary.
But should each home then, even though that is in place, should the home still have a plan of action?
Definitely, most definitely. We encourage that strongly, that everybody should have an evacuation plan and a disaster plan for the home, and you should exercise it. Once you develop it, it isn't any good unless you can identify weaknesses and so on and correct those before a situation occurs, you know. So you want to develop your plan and exercise it as you go along to make sure everything is in place.
You mentioned having sandbags if you're in a flood-prone area, right? But what are some of the things that we should all have at home in case of an emergency?
A grab-and-go bag.
Always ready.
Always ready, right? The ODPM has a leaflet called a Disaster Preparedness Checklist, and it has a list of all of the items that you should have handy in case something should happen, right? So when you get the list, you sit down and you check off what you have, and then you look to see what you don't have and what you need, right? So that you're always ready, and you have that in a bag tucked away in a corner, but probably by a door or something that you can just grab it as you're running out.
Now, how often should I update this bag or update the things in this bag? Because if I have this bag, is it that I keep it there for the entire rainy season, or do I keep it there all year round, or how does it work?
You need to be aware of expiry dates on the stuff in the bag, and you need to rotate it as necessary. Right? You would develop a list of all of the items in the bag, and you put an expiry date on that list, so that as things start to get close to expiry, you can rotate them. You can use them and replace it with fresh stuff.
And I know, well, I'll get to the emergency numbers that we can call closer to the end, but I know we've been getting ready by using this month, National Disaster Prevention and Preparedness Month. Can you tell me about some of the activities that the ODPM have been doing for this month to get people more aware?
Right, okay. Well, first of all, it was launched on the 28th of April by the Honorable Minister of National Security. And immediately we went into all the different areas that we believe people need to know about. One of the things we've been doing in a big way is having community fairs, right, where we go into the community, we have an ODPM booth, but we also have booths from all of the major first responder agencies, so that people can get an idea of how everything works, and not just what the ODPM does.
Okay.
Right? So the last one we had was Saturday in St. Helena.
Right. I know we have one coming up again today, actually.
Today in Princestown.
In Princestown, and Saturday again at Kernahan.
Yeah.
Is it that you're selecting particular areas to do these community fairs?
Yeah, well, there are so many communities, we can't hit them all.
Well, exactly.
So we take the ones that we consider most important, right? Like, for example, where Kernahan is concerned, I don't know how many people know where that is.
That's where they grow watermelons, no?
That's in Manzanilla. Right, is in the back, behind the coconuts in Manzanilla, is a fairly large community there.
And is it that they often get flooded out?
It is very flood prone. It is in the floodplain of the Nariva River, and it floods all the time. Added to which, it's very flat land. A tsunami coming in is going to run straight through there. You know, so they're very high risk. So we want to make sure that they know
what's been the response so far from the different communities that you guys have been to?
I don't have accurate information on that, but I can tell you that, for example, on Saturday I was in St. Helena, and we had a steady stream of people coming through right up until lunchtime, and then it started to rain, and that slowed things down a bit, but we'd still got people trickling in up until I think it was 2 o'clock in the afternoon when we closed down.
All right, that's fantastic. I understand that you guys have also developed a new public notification system. PANS, yeah. So that the public alert notification system.
That's correct. Yeah.
PANS. Tell me a little bit about it and how can we use it?
Well, we have been inviting people to sign up for PANS, right? And once you sign up for it, once there's an emergency alert of any kind, you will get it on your phone, right? You'll get it both by text message, right? You'll get email, and you'll get voice notes as well.
Okay.
Right? So
how do we sign up for PANS?
Right now at the various community fairs and stuff like that, but we are working, just yesterday actually we were discussing this, and we're working on expanding it in a big way, going out into the malls and all of these places where a lot of people congregate, and encourage people to sign up for it.
But didn't we have a system in place already where the ODPM kind of basically had everybody's phone number where you could text everybody when something is happening?
The problem with the straight texting is that the cellular systems can only accommodate so many per hour.
Ah, okay. So people were getting delayed notifications.
Right. So now when you have the PANS, you're getting the message coming to you by various media. So if you don't get it by text message, you're going to get an email, or you're going to get a voice note. Right? It has a strong redundancy in it to make sure that the message gets through.
Okay, that's very interesting. So it's similar to what was happening during COVID, where we would get these alerts on our phones about what's happening.
Right.
Okay, so tell me which emergency numbers you would recommend people call if they are in need of an emergency during this rainy season?
Well, your first responder agency is like the disaster management units of the municipal corporations, and you have the fire services, then the police and the military, right? The military, we generally look after them. We only rely on them in an extreme emergency, right? But other than that, the disaster management units and fire handle the situation. So on the ODPM website at odpm.gov.tt, there's a complete listing of all the emergency numbers you would need, including the 800 disaster hotline numbers for the municipal corporations.
Fantastic.
Each corporation has its own number, and that number is manned 24/7.
That's good information to have. So head across to odpm.gov.tt and you can get as much information as you need to be prepared as we get into the rainy season. Mr. Mackie, any closing words before we go?
Just to ask everybody again to please sign up for PANS. It is real important to be able to get those notifications when things are happening.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and all the best as we get into the rainy season. I know you're going to have your hands full, but I hope that we can heed the warning and be as prepared as possible.
Thank you.
All right, that's Mr. Eric Mackie. He is the Regional Coordinator of the Preparedness and Response Unit at the ODPM. We take a quick break and come back with more inside the Now Morning Show. Stick around.